Hello. Hello. It should be live right now. All right, cool. Everyone can hear me? I'll just give it like one more minute and then we'll get started here. What I'm going to do is just go through 10 stocks that I think you need to look at this weekend. There's a couple more, really. But I really want to go over a short idea as well. And then I'm just going to take questions the whole time and we'll keep it really informal and we'll go from there. So cool. Everybody's pretty much lined up and we're ready to go. And let's just get started. Let's get into it. So let's just see here. Okay. Very first one I want to go over today, and I'm going to do these in alphabetical order because I think people find that a little bit easier. But you need to start paying attention to what's going on in other sectors like retail right now, and oil and energy and financials are through the roof. So let's just walk through what's really going on out there. This is really a very interesting time because I'm surprised that the retail is rallying the way that it is, but it is. So this is Best Buy and people are aware of this, but here you are at like 119. This stock has been basing for almost 7 months at this point. And we constantly are trying to get above this level and we're not able to. But if you take a look at this, okay, on the weekly, see this little pivot right here. We're finally really on the weekly. I'm going to drill into this a little bit so we can see what we're talking about. You have 1 day where you closed above it, two weeks where you closed above it. And you can see this little pivot right here. Right? You see that break and now how you've reversed. Now you don't have the volume that you're looking for yet, but if you get volume coming into this, you should be able to get above that level. If you can get above, man, we got too many of these now. Let's get rid of this one. So if you get above this level after this break, you should be able to clear this. I mean, what you're really shooting for is to get back. And let me just show you this channel. What you're shooting for is to get back into this channel. And a lot of these stocks are already doing it. So you're shooting to get back in the channel that's here. And if you can kind of see what's going on here, this has like massive, massive potential. Let me just double click that. And then we'll go here and I'll take questions on this one. But you can see where I'm going with this. You break out of this huge base and you're going to go and you can really head up here. You can get to that 160, 170 level. There's a lot of potential with this one. So it's definitely one that I'd put on the radar and pay attention to. So, you know, that's pretty much that one. I mean, I think you have to look at this space. I really think you have to start digging into retail and taking a look at what's going on there. You know, there's a lot in retail that is just exploding. There's another name in here. We're going to get into it. Hey, Bo, but there's a lot in retail that's just exploding. You need to look at Kohl's, look at, you know what I mean? I can show these charts. They're not ready for prime time, but they should be on your list. Like, you know, you had the old head fake here, and they jammed somebody in this, but this gets through 42 and this thing's going to take off, you know, and you just go through this whole space and you can just see these names just building bases. You can see the asymmetrical triangle here. You know, again, it's not ready for prime time. The one that I really think is ready for prime time is this is this one. And the reason I say that is you're having some follow through. You're breaking through some levels here and you're already having follow through. And when you start seeing bars like this, and just remember this because it will be helpful in your future. When you see bars like this, where you're opening at the low on a green bar, closing at the high, opening at the low, closing at the high, like that doesn't stop. That is just consistent buying. But what we really want to see is we need to see buying come in like this. And I think you're going to start seeing that very soon, possibly this week. So just put this on your radar. Start looking at retail a little bit. And I think you're there. Yeah, Paul, I got coffee sitting right next to me. I'm ready. I'm all excited. Trevor, the yellow circle around the thing, I'm not sure how I'm doing that. And when I spoke to the designer or the app, he's not sure how it's happening either. So I think there's a differentiation between when I do these live and the system I'm using live versus the system I'm using to tape. So it's two different systems, but I'll try and figure it out. People love the yellow cursor because they can follow along a little bit better on what's going on. I'll blow the charts up a little bit more and go from there. But so on BBY, so what I'd be looking for is an entry. You know, I probably wasn't clear enough on that. Let me just be very clear here. So you broke this downward trend wick. At this point, I would just wait for 124. Because if you get above 124, you're at a level where you've never closed on the daily, right? You've never closed above there. And you can see these other little resistance lines, and they're not as valuable. But you can see these levels. Like we're not really ever closing above this line. So a close above that at 124, hands down, is your pivot. And you want to see real volume. Like this volume descending, I don't think that's going to last, but we don't know that. So I need to see real volume step in and then step into it. So, you know, let's go from there. Hey, Swing, good to see you. So, you know, that's it for BBY. What would I use as a stop? If you close below the 21 day after you're in, you can kind of go from there. And look, with some of these stocks, you know, these are low beta names. And I went through this in the newsletter, and that's really where people are going into. The deleveraging is real, and that's going to continue. And you're going to see just like, look at this one. You're going to just see constant pushing into low beta names, and they're going to just put them on fire. I mean, big five sporting goods, right? If you take a look at what's going on out here, look at how we gapped, you know, and this was one that someone presented to me. It was not my idea, but look how we gapped here. And, you know, this was very clear what I was saying. I said, look, if it breaks this higher high, buy it. You opened, tested, opened again, ripped. That was it. I mean, that was a clear buy. Now, if you didn't want to buy this open, which I understand, you wait for this level. And this is clear. I mean, every day open is higher than the close, and we're closing at the highs. And look at the volume that's coming in. Like, you know, low beta stocks usually don't do this. They just kind of trend higher. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to just say this, you know, this big five move, I'm not including it in these top 10 that we're going to go over, but that move's not over. And you can literally play the stair game with it. And just every time it takes out a new high, look for trigger patterns and just trade it. I mean, it can easily, look, this can easily come back down and test this when people want to get out of it. It's a very thin name, but this is a lot of buying. So that just doesn't go away very fast. And it's just been an absolutely insane move. So, and I really don't think that that's going to stop. I think you're going to see a lot of these retail names continue to do this. So let's just keep going into this and let's go to the next one. And, you know, if you guys have questions at the same time, just simply ask. So oil and gas stocks, you're going to see a bunch of them here in different names, and you usually see. This is setting up, and this has been brought to my attention for over a week by somebody, and they keep saying, look at this chart, look at this chart. And I keep saying, yeah, it looks great, but it's just not ready for prime time. Friday changed that and has made this ready for prime time, and you should definitely be watching this and putting it on your list. And this is CPE, and I'm going to get into the weekly and the monthly on this one as well. See how you held the 21 day? Like legitimately, you opened at the low on the 21 day after you gapped down, right? So you shook everybody out. Let's really zoom into this because it's important. And apparently I don't have the yellow cursor anymore. So see how you gapped above this level? And so everyone's like, yay, it's really going to go this time. And then they open it here which is like the worst thing that you can do. If you go to, you go to bed on Thursday, you think it finally broke out, and then it comes in and it opens here. It's like the worst way to start your day, right? And they do it on purpose. The market makers do this on purpose. They're not stupid, but they can't keep it here because you're going to have major buying here. So you have all this buying step in, and then it reverses, and people say that candlestick patterns or no candlestick patterns know that this is a massive bullish engulfing. And look at the volume. It's above average. What we're looking for on this move, and then I'll take questions, is 42.68. You want to get through 42.68 on this. You get through that level now, and this thing's going to rip. And just look at this. So just take a look at this. So this is the weekly, okay? There's no resistance until you get to this 50 level, right? This is your first key resistance point on CPE. And when energy moves like this, this doesn't go away. This doesn't stop just because, a quick turn. Like, this stuff takes forever to turn. And when it does make a secular turn, okay, it continues. If you look at this, the last time the 21 and the 50 crossed, right, and we're in a trend, this took place. We have a 21 and 50 cross here on the weekly. And I think these are going to start moving. And I think it speaks broader to what's going on out there. So I hope that's helpful. So I really think, what about oil, super major shell? So I think that you have to look at oil. Hey, Sergey. So I think you really have to understand what's going on with energy right now, right? Like, I think that that's an absolute huge thing to get involved with. So this is not going to stop. Like, this is the XLE, and I just want people to grasp this. You see this trend line here, this major trend line? That's on a weekly. Now, here you are on a yearly. So on the year, this goes back to 2009. And if you get over this, you could run to this 64 level. So if you run 20% on the index, the underlying stocks can move 40, 50%. So in other words, on a monthly chart, if you look here, you have an undercut, double bottom undercut, and you have a bull flag on your monthly where higher high, right? So this can easily get to this 50 level, and then from there continue. You broke a major downtrend here in November, and that's because administrations change, processes change, and that's what's doing it. And I really think you have to be aware of that. Like, it's not a political statement. It's just different administrations handle things differently. And when they do, it does affect certain industries, and commodities are on fire right now. And energy obviously is a commodity via oil. So keep this one in mind, CPE. And I'm just going to walk through this again very clearly so everyone gets this level and understands this. You're looking here at roughly a 42 3/4 break. Your first moves to 50, but with this base and coming out of this, I think you're looking at in the 60s, and I don't think it's going to take very long. So I would definitely put that on your list. So this one, CURLF, take a look at this. Okay. So you are trending right down here and you're holding, right? As soon as you're through that 50-day and you're through this little line after this break, by the time that happens, this 21 day is going to start curling. So you would know that this failed here. Like, this is not going to be a 21 day to determine whether or not it failed. If you close, and they're going to catch up to one another, if you close below the close of this line, right behind this close, you're going to want to be out of it. So that puts you at roughly $14 close. Getting through 15.33, so you call it 15.50. Like, just look at what's going on here with this one. And we're going to drill into this a little bit more, because this is really interesting. It really has not given any back, and it cannot get back into this gap. And I think that you have to pay attention to that. See this? Look at this downward trend line break. Okay. I mean, you've been doing this since February. You've been in this pattern since February. Look at this break. And now you're above the 21 week. Like, this is ready to go. And I would definitely put this on your radar and use the low of that as your stop. That would be your stop level. So that's that one. For some reason, it's not letting me click over there and seeing what's going on. That's weird. So let's go to Fnko, and then we'll get into some questions. Fnko is one that we really need to look at here and kind of understand what's happening. And I really like this name. I like the fact, like, this is a weekly chart and you have broken this maneuver. You have broken this downward trend line. And I think that's very important to understand what's going on here. So consider this move, pay attention to this one, like the 25-25. It's definitely something that you need to look at and focus on. It's definitely, it's an important line here. So just, just consider that for a moment. Like, you really want to look at that. But it's one of those levels where when you break a channel like this, it can really go. And that's exactly what's happening here. We're starting to see this thing really move from a 25-24 level to, you're going to start clearing these levels. Like, look here, let me explain it this way. So you're at 27.89, and then you are at 31. So these levels are going to start going. And when they do, it's going to be really important that you understand to get in this. Like, as soon as this takes out a higher high, like, look here, look at this. Okay. As soon as this takes out a higher high, it's going to run, right? You can see that. Okay. And it's going to get to that 27.5 level. And when that happens, it's going to be big. It's not going to stop. And you have this whole channel right here. Hold on. That's up here. Okay. And that whole channel is something that you really need to take a look at and see what you're going to do with it. So I personally think this thing's going into the 30s, and it's definitely one that you want to keep in mind. And it's definitely one that you want to watch. So in regards to that, I would definitely put this on my watch list, and I would be all over this one. So I'll take questions in a minute, but just in regards to this, I would be all over this one. This is pretty powerful. I haven't had this kind of volume yet, but with the move that you're seeing here, I would expect this to really power through. It just appears like that's what's going to happen here. So just keep that in mind, and we'll go from there. In regards to your pivot and how you're supposed to handle this move, because you see how far off you are from here, from 21 to 25, what you need to do is the following. You need to focus on this. Here, let me show you this. So how do you trade this? Because you're up so much. You're going to have to look at stocks on a daily basis. So in other words, you want to look at them on a daily basis, but like on a smaller time frame, right? So this is a 15-minute time frame. And what you want to look at there on that time frame is very simple. You want to look at this time frame and see, but like on a smaller time frame. Hold on one. Oh, that was reverb. Got some reverb. So there we go. Got rid of the reverb. That was awful. So bear with me because I'm still learning how to use all this. Has anything fundamentally changed in energy? Yes, a lot has changed in energy, Sir G. A ton has changed in energy. And let's address that while we're, for a moment, because that's really important. There's a massive shift that changed with this administration. And this is not a political statement. It's just fact. The United States was energy independent. We became non-energy independent. You're starting to see that really ripple through commodities. And as inflation runs, whether or not whatever administration was in it's irrelevant. If inflation runs, you're going to see commodity prices go higher. You are seeing commodity prices go higher. Look at lumber. Lumber is literally limit up every single day. That's not going to change. That's not going to stop. So just remember that. That's one of the key issues here that you're starting to see, that it's just not going to go away. So just consider that. So let's just keep going here. If you have more questions, just keep asking. But in regards here, what I was getting at with this is the following. you're going to have to look at shorter time frames to get in this. Okay, because you can't, and then set a stop, because you can't use this as a stop, right? You can't really use this as your stop. So you're going to have to wait for a 15-minute pattern or a 1-minute pattern, whatever you're going to use as your trigger to get in this and stay in it, right? You can't really use 4 points as your stop. It's irrelevant. So you're going to have to use one of your processes to get in this and stay in this. So, but yep, you're welcome, Sir G. But you know, I do a lot of fundamental research. I just don't really get into it. But commodities, like when they move like this, they don't turn. They don't act the same way as high beta stocks. When commodities move, they move, and it stays that way for a while because there's a lot of futures headings, like hedging that goes on with commodities, right? So like if I make soybeans, I need to hedge that out a year. So that's why when commodity prices run, they run. They can spike and stay in time frame. And we're still getting tons of reverb here again. All right, got rid of that reverb, it looks like, finally. So there's tons of hedging that goes on with this. And I guess I'll talk about it a little bit more because I do think it's important for you to understand this. When you have a commodity, no matter what that commodity is, they want to hedge the heck out of it because they want to know exactly what they're going to be selling it for later. So when they go up, and that's why you're seeing like lumber prices right now, right? Lumber's just limit up every single day and people can't figure out why. It's because people are hedging. You know, besides you have the speculators in there, you have people that are hedging, and that's what's doing it. So I hope that's helpful and explains a little bit more about what's really going on out there. HZO is going to be on the top 10 list this week. This is one that is just setting up perfectly, and you're starting to see this curl up as far as the volume here. But look at this break. This is just as clean as you can get. And if you drill into this break, you can see very clearly, you open, you test the line, you go back over the open, and then you run. So let me just walk you through how you could have bought this on Friday, because I think this is somewhat important for people to learn. So in this really bad volume, very light, thin stock. So let's just go through this while we're here. So what you're really looking for, and you can see this right off the open, you're right here. So this is your opening line. So you open, right? You essentially open here, gap down, and then go over the opening price. As soon as you're over that opening price, it's a buy. Now you might have to deal with some volatility because of how thin this is, but the important thing is that it gets you in the stock on a very small time frame. Just by letting the open happen, gap lower than the open, and then go back over the open can get you in the stock and get you ahead of the move. And that's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to get in and make the most amount of money with the least amount of risk. That's really what you're all trying to do. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to take the most amount of risk. So what you're looking for here on this trade is very simple. I'm only 3 points off this line. I'm looking for a higher high here. And then I just think this is go time. This is really setting up here. Like, look at this. Look at this channel on this one. I mean, you know, that's not even drawn perfectly, but you know, you're in the 70s on this. So I would be all over that. Any questions on HCO? I have it up here. Any questions at all that you want to go over? So let's go here. You can see what I'm talking about here. I mean, this is pretty clean stuff, right? Kind of hard to beat. So that's HCO, MRO. So let's go through this on the daily. Go ahead, ask your question, Indy. Let's get into it. I'll start doing more live instead of me just regurgitating information. So I have time today to just hammer a lot of this stuff out. So what's your question about XLA? What if XLE doesn't break 5350 level? Will it be building up or going down? Well, let's get into it, right? Let's drill into it. Okay. So here's your levels, right? On the daily. Here's our chart. So let's get rid of these indicators because we really don't need them. See this trend line for the year? So let's drill this. Let's get into this. Because, right, here's your trend line. Okay. played around with it. I mean, you can see how it rejected here and you're like, oh man, it's not going to go, bounces off a support level, comes back, finally breaks through, and then breaks through another point here, right? So first off, we're through the 5350 level, right? So, I don't know what you want me to wait a second, but, but so you can see how you're getting through this 5350 level, right? And what you're looking to see is you're looking to continue. Now you're back in the channel. Okay. So now that I'm back in the channel exists. Okay. This is why you'll notice the one thing you'll notice about this, and this is important. It's kind of why I'm going over it. I wasn't a huge buyer of energy until this week. Why? Because now I'm back in the channel. And when I stay back in this channel, higher highs, like get me above this 5460 level. And I'm confirmed that I'm going to start taking out numbers. What would concern me here? Okay. All right. Indy. So I figured that. But what would concern me here? Look, if I take out the lower of this and I take out 52, maybe that concerns me. And maybe I back off a little bit because you are or were in a multi-year downtrend, but you're not in that multi-year downtrend anymore, are you? Now you're starting to swing. Right. And so now you have this break here, but even look at this on the XLE, like these lines are no joke. Like, you know, you can see, like, let's drill into this in 2015, 2016, look what happened. You went to this, support became resistance, right? Resistance becomes support. That's exactly what happened here. We couldn't get through it. Bonk, bonk, right? And then we break through. Once you're through this line and you're through this 54, which could happen this week. Okay. You're going to 64. That kind of move, that really simple move, Indy, just gets you a 15% move in this. A 15% move in an index is huge for the underlying indicators. It's absolutely huge. So that's what you really want to focus on. And that's why I'm saying that this is important. And that's why I'm really focusing now this week and paying attention to these energy names. Will fall options on leech on energy make sense? Yes, they do make sense. I'd wait for confirmation though. So what you want to look at is you want to look and make sure you get above before I would do leaps on it. And you can just make a comment on this video and then I'll remember to post them and send you which ones I would look at. You know, I know people are very interested in options and leaps. My background, I spent 10 years as a registered options principal, so I know them pretty cold. But before I'd buy a leap, I'd get over this line. I'd get confirmation that I'm going the right way. And you might pay up a little bit more for them, but yeah, that it definitely totally makes sense to look at leaps on that. And I would look at them on the XLE more than I would look at them anywhere else, just because they're more liquid. I'm going to buy individual names. So like, I'm going to give you a rule of thumb on this. Hey, Ty, I'll definitely go over, I'll go over Exxon right now. Crypto, I have my own thoughts on, and, you know, caveat, I'm long Bitcoin, I'm long Ethereum, but there are longer term plays. I actually think that you're going to have the issue, Ty, there with the governments realizing across globally that they're losing control of currency. And if they lose control of currency, they're going to have an issue. I think they're going to regulate the absolute, no other way to say it. I think they're going to regulate the absolute hell out of crypto. That's just my opinion. I think they're going to just regulate the crap out of it to control it. And I don't think they're going to be able to. And, you know, it's one of the comments I always came out with. Yeah, I'll do Chevron too. No problem. But I think they're going to just regulate the hell out of it just to control it. Let me do MRO real quick, and then I'll do those other two that you guys are interested in. So MRO is one that I think that you should start paying attention to. And here's why. Look at this line right here, right? You get through 12 bucks and this is going to rip. This has this enormous, there's a base here, but, right? And there's a resistance there, but look at this one. Like if I get through this thing's going back to $16, $17 very, very fast. So I would really pay attention to this here. Let me just show it this way on the weekly so you can see where we're going with this. Like this thing could just, and these smaller names, they move because they're more leveraged. There were actually some $2 or $4 stocks that I just didn't want to put on here because they were so cheap. the lower ones always scare me a little bit, but someone showed me rig. That looks like it's good, but look, this is you have to look for the names that the institutions are going to buy, right? So like that Fnko I showed, institutional ownership through that is through the roof. But when you start getting through these levels, you're going to see more and more institutions step up. And what I want to show you with this MRO, you have to start looking for stuff like this. Like when you start breaking multi-year trends down, they're the ones that they continue for some time. Now, this is a monthly on MRO. Okay. Look where you're at on the monthly, right? Just look, I mean, you get through $12 and this thing's going to take off. It could have like a multi-year move. And so that's what I'm saying with some of these energies, they're going to be around for a while. So is Etsy a shorts candidate? Yeah. I like Ethereum a lot. Like I've been saying this for a while. If I was to buy now and looking for which one to buy, I think it's Ethereum. And I don't want to turn this into a crypto chat, but I would totally be looking at that one versus the others. Like there's nothing but blue skies there, and it's much cheaper. There's energy constraints associated with these, but we can get into that at another time. I'll do a whole crypto live thing if you guys want to, and we'll go through all of them, and just play around with them and just talk, or I guess I could do a whole video on it, but it's not where I make the majority of my money. I always find it so fascinating when people are like, oh, I could buy this and I could be up 10X. And I'm like, okay, well, you could have bought Tesla 8 years ago and crushed those returns. But look, here's Exxon. And we could talk more about that because the majority of stuff I go over is trading. But the real money is when you get in these at the right price and you can just hold them for a very long period of time. Look, you get through the 62.55 and people are going to just start buying this. This was one that, a year ago, and I didn't really have a lot of people following me back then, but a year ago, I was all over this. When the pandemic came in, it was paying 11%. This was just a layup to put away in one of your accounts and leave, and it's done exceptionally well. This is just getting started. If these things start running, this goes to 80 really fast, like really fast. Like look at this. So you have the W here on Exxon, right? On the weekly, and look how we responded to that. That's how you responded to the W. Tries to do it, can't do it, pandemic, boom, right? The only reason I didn't go super heavy on this on my longer term accounts is because I didn't do a double bottom. I really wanted that double bottom break but it is what it is. So what you want to see now is get above that level we just showed and go from there. But look at this on the monthly. Like this is a pretty big reversal. You have to understand something, like even on these charts, right? This is your flagpole. You're in a bear flag. Here's your flag. You broke to the upside of the flag. You have a failed bear flag breakout to the upside on a monthly. Like I can't hammer this home enough about technical analysis. This doesn't move on a dime, right? Like this takes a while to turn. And when they turn big, just like your 200-day moving averages. So I like this on a breakout. I just didn't show this one because I think there's more juice in the other ones. So, this is a much thinner name than the others. I do like it. There's a couple key things here that are going on. You can obviously see that we had this little daily break, and then from there it just took off. This is going to take a long time to turn. It's much thinner. But before I'd even get involved in this one, I need to get above 112. This is Chevron. And let's just get into this. Yeah, and I have this huge overhang resistance here that I don't have in Exxon. And then even if I get through this, I mean, you should be able to see this and why Exxon's a better play. Even if I get through 109, look at all this nonsense I have to deal with up here. Like constantly, I'm going to be dealing with this stuff. So I'd rather play with Exxon. If you're looking to play with the big boys, if that's helpful. NBR. So let's just go through this. So what would be your absolute top 2-3 picks in XLA? I think you have to look at that whole thing. ETC, Ethereum Classic, Indy. Look at this. I'm going off on tangents, but I guess that's because it's live. So maybe you could look at this because this was one that was pretty clear, and I try not to get into this, but I was buying, I try to stay away from talking crypto on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that, because I just don't know where people's heads are, right? I don't want to do damage, but this was pretty clear that when we sold down the other day on this is an investment trust that owns Ethereum Classic. I bought this. I mean, this was a pretty clear buy, and I can kind of walk through it really quickly. You can see how you just came down, undercut, right? Like hopefully you guys are seeing these patterns. It doesn't matter if it's a widget or what it is, but when you undercut this, right, after falling down like this was a pretty clear sign. And then we even retested it here, which showed that I felt comfortable going from there. So, this is an interesting way to trade the Ethereum Classic. And all I'm doing to look is to trade this. And I think I see a bounce in this. And, seriously, when you have a long red bar like this, if I just get half a bounce off this range, that's all. I mean, that's all you need. It's a home run. So, keep that in mind. Out of XLE, the top 2-3 picks, look, they're going to change. They're going to rotate. They're going to constantly rotate those tops or 2-3 picks. If I'm in that space right now, the ones that I like are the ones that I'm just going through, and they might not exactly be in the XLE, but like MRO, I absolutely love. Like, I think this is really setting up. This one is in the top 10 list and is in that space. So NBR, like on the daily, let's throw in the indicators and get into this. So you get above the 50-day on this, and this one's gone. Like the move on this over the 21-day touches the 21-day, opens, comes down, touches the 21-day, runs to the 50-day, which just happens to be the high of this entire break. Like, it doesn't get any cleaner than this. And here, look at this. So this is NBR, like longer term, okay, multi-years. Right now, you drill into this, and let me blow this up and expand this. Okay, so I have a bullish engulfing essentially on this bar. I'm above months of work. Flip this open, and this thing's gone. Like this is going to run, and this one's going to move fast. Why do I say that? Because I have this entire base that I've just cleared. When you have a green bar that clears your entire base. And just remember this, if you have a green bar that clears the entire base, that just means you have massive buying and your sellers are out of the way. They're gone. They are completely gone. There's no sellers anymore. We've taken them out. What does that mean? Well, I don't have a base up here. Like, do you see all that crap that we had? And there's really no other term to talk about it, but see how we had all that noise on the weekly, right? On this, like if I break out of this, I have to get through all this stuff still, and all these people and all their, all their issues. I don't have to do that on this one, right? I don't. It doesn't exist. So all I have to do on the daily, and I just use that as an example, but all I have to do is get through this stuff. Well, who do I really have here? I have these guys that had a bad day, right? And that's pretty much it. So usually a break like this can lead to testing the top of that red bar. So I think if you get above the 50-day on this, you're going to 120, 124 on this. Fertilizer stocks can move. Absolutely. There's no question about it, Indy. But I would take a look at this. Do you ever make any recommendations for longer term holds? Yeah, Jeremy, I do. I mean, I want to get into something about that. Like, my holds are predicated upon different moves. So there are stocks that I will buy and I will just sit with, like if I think that they're good stocks. Like here, this is one from the newsletter, right? And I'll just walk you through this. In the newsletter, let me get rid of that. In the newsletter, we're out of this, okay? I was pretty clear that I still have a position in this that I'm just leaving on just to see what happens because I'm up in it. But from the newsletter standpoint, it's time to go. That doesn't mean that you need to sell it. It just means that, like, look, I don't want to keep this thing in there when I know that it's probably going to consolidate for a period of time before it breaks out again. So something like this, and you can always ask me that and reach out. I'm just sitting with this. I don't think NFTs are going away at all. Like, I truly don't think NFTs are going to go away. I think it's a great way for people that have huge gains in Ethereum to find a place to park the money and do something with it. And that's what's really happening. So I think that it works. And frankly, when you get guys like Michael Eisner getting involved in your stock from Disney, you need to pay attention. The Playboy is not going away. This is on a daily chart, right? And you ran up to this level and then you rejected. I don't know that this is going to go away, but maybe it's way ahead of itself. Maybe it comes back down to 30. Look, if I owned this, like I think of MUDs down here at this level in the breakout, I would just sit with it and see what happens. You know, there's no need to do it. These could go, and this is an entirely new market that we're not even, that we're not even discussing. So you can hold these for a longer term. Just because I say I'm out because of the newsletter, like here. Let me just give you an example of what you're asking. I mean, you're asking on the long side, but this was one that I've been pretty vocal about. Like, I have a short position in this, as everybody's kind of aware of that's following me on Twitter. Let me just show you this. Okay. This is a nasty, nasty break right on the stock. Okay. I have no intention of covering my entire short position until I reverse this candle. So that's kind of my thought on it, right? Like, I'll just leave it on. Now I might cover on Twitter on the short term, but on the long term, I'm still short. So to answer your question, yes, I definitely look at stuff on the long side and the short side for longer terms. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's stocks I've owned for over a year. There's stocks I've owned for much longer than over a year that I'll never wind up getting out of. There's no reason to get out of them. So let's go through these. I'm ahead of this. I like Swing Monkey. I was about to say I like Swing Monkey. I like MUDs a lot too. I find that whole space just fascinating. And we're on the ground floor. Like, we're in the first inning of understanding NFTs and how that's going to work, how they're going to transfer these things. People are setting up like NFT galleries. Like, there's a lot going on there. That's really cool stuff. I'll get into the next one on the top 10 list in a moment. Let me just go through these things and make sure I'm ahead. Thanks, Tom. I heard him mention it. I just didn't know if he made the video solely on that. I don't know what I made a video on. I got lost there in the thing. Dapper goes public. Anybody into it yet? Does the massive volume coming in on PTON worry you as a short? I know. I tried not to make it weird there, Swing Monkey. But the PTON, does the volume concern me? No. Like, if I was long and I saw what happened on that day, like if I was long PTON and I'm like, oh, people, and don't get me wrong, like I have a lot of friends that have these bikes and it makes sense. And the whole model makes sense. Let me get rid of this so we can really get into this and what you're asking. Let's get rid of all this stuff. So let me just point this out and we can get rid of everything. Everybody knows that this is PTON, right? Okay. Let's get rid of all the indicators for a moment. Let me just point this out. So this is what I consider they had a good quarter, right? People would think that you had a good quarter, okay? But the growth is changing. And what you have to understand is when you break down like this, so you have this whole pattern right here, right? It doesn't matter if this is selling apples or what it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I have here's my little break, right? Looks like one of those Morningstar patterns. I open here on the day. Okay. And for people that saw, I threw out a lotto option trade on Friday, which if people did it, they did okay with. I walked through it step by step, but essentially you open here, you ran, I closed a short position when I shorted off the open. I lost $1 in it. And then I bought puts and I still had the short position on. I would be very concerned that I just came out with earnings that were fairly decent. Came up with a game plan, that to fix the problem, how we're going to get it, quantified the amount of money that problem is going to cost, 200 million, and people still sold my stock and I closed at the low of the day. This is going lower. That's my opinion of it. So the volume didn't scare me. What would scare me if I was long? Like, look at this. What would scare me if I was long is the following. That I didn't get any traction and my shorts didn't cover. And now, I talk about this a lot. Here's that dreaded H pattern. And now I have a confirm move down. So the only time I'm going to cover this complete short at this point is getting over this 98 level. Until then, I'll just leave it on. I think this thing's in for massive pain the way this is setting up. And it's just my opinion of it. It has nothing to do with the company, but I think it's a massive pain. I don't see any real support here until you get to like these levels and you throw the bells and whistles back in and look at what you're seeing here, right? The 21, the 50, they're crossing the 200. They're both racing down so you can be faster. And look at the sell volume that we're seeing. So no, I think PTON's toast. I think you're going to the 70s, and then I think you're going to keep going down and down. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong. Yeah, I don't really know what Kathy Wood's thinking about this time. ATER, I keep being asked about it, so let's get into it. Yeah, this looks like an absolute disaster. Absolute utter disaster. So, if I had to find one thing on this that would make me feel okay. So you see that lower trend line right there? And what we do with this is, and if you're long this, and I'm calling it a disaster, don't take it personally. It's just a disaster. See this trend line that you're in? Like you're just respecting this. Boom, boom, boom. They're just walking you down. Now, the one thing that you could see here, but you haven't seen that, you've seen an actual reversal of it, is you see this volume that's right here? Look at that volume, right? You see how you have that volume that's in here? You need to be aware of that volume. Like that's pretty substantial stuff, right? And I don't know how far this goes back. I'm not involved in the name, but let's get into it. So yeah, this goes back a while. Okay. So this is the largest weekly volume sale that you've ever had on this stock. What would concern me about that is I need to see a bounce on that now. And you're not really seeing that bounce yet, right? Usually when people puke it out that much, when you puke it out, I usually see some kind of bottom. You're not seeing that. If I was long this and I broke this hammer, I'd be out of it because now I've even broken the channel. And I would not be a buyer of this under any circumstances. But if I was hell-bent on buying it, you have to get above the 200-day before you touch it. So ROKU, I'll gladly walk through. I have a couple PTONs before it sucks. Yeah, I don't know. People love them. I mean, they absolutely love the PTON. As far as Kathy Wood, Hoagie, if you're in Planter, you have issues. Like I've actually been shorting that on rallies, and I'm just going to walk you through it. She's under attack. That's not going away. People are just shorting her stuff when it rallies up. This Planter is going back to $16. I mean, just to get into this, and I'll get back into Rick's. There's two more on the top 10. Hopefully, someone will keep track of the top 10 as we go off on these little tangents, but that's the purpose of doing this live, to cover stuff that you guys are interested in. So like this Planter, this is toast. Like there's a friend of mine on Twitter that loves the name, and I keep telling him like, you're done. Like this is, put a fork in it. You're going to $16. Realize that she has to sell when she has redemptions. She hasn't even started her redemptions yet. And that's one of the reasons why it keeps running up. Every time ARKK runs up, I just short it, because once the redemptions start, she's just going to have to keep doing it. Like this is going down. I don't know how else to explain it. Longer term, I love the name, but when we're starting to crack this in the 200s pointing down, so her largest holdings like Planter, TDOC, and she just keeps running into a burning building. And I'm not really sure if it's in her charter that she has to. She did a live stream today, and I'm probably going to listen to it later. I find her fascinating because she's brilliant, but I don't understand the methodology to this, and I don't understand if she has to buy. But when this breaks, and this will break. I mean, here's TDOC. Like this is a perfect short. Here's TDOC on the weekly. We were talking about shorting this a while ago, but here's that 174. You broke 174. That was it. Boom. This is going lower. This could go a lot lower, TDOC. Let me just leave it at that. It can go a lot lower. So let me do Rick right now. So put this on your list of stocks to watch this week. It's all these little names. that are, in their own little industries that seem to be rocking. But, Rick, just this whole base that's going on here between 54 to 73 is finally breaking out, and we can get rid of this one. We don't really need it. But once you're above the 73.10, and you can even use this wick. So here, use this level. Use 74.25. You get above 74.25, and this can really go, like really go. There's a level up here that I drew before, and I think we're going to get to it. So you have a pattern right here. Try to get that as close as I can. So this thing can easily become a $100 stock. There is just nothing but blue sky above on this one. I mean, that's really what you're dealing with. So I think there's 24, 25 points on this fairly easy. Here you are in the weekly. I mean, you can see this, right? Here's your flagpole. Here's your flag. So I would definitely put this one on your list. It's definitely on mine. And you're really just looking, get me above that wick of 74, and a quarter, and go from there. So let's just see that. So look at BBKCF. So let's look at that. Yeah, I could see buying puts in ARK. I mean, every time it runs up, you could just get out of it. Every time it runs up, just keep selling it. I mean, until it breaks out of that trend, you're there. What is this one you want to see? BBKCF. Okay, let's do BBKCF. I mean, this just looks awful. Absolutely awful. And, when I tell you your stocks look awful, I don't know if you're long or short. Don't take offense to it. It's just a fact. So I'm not trying to insult people, but look, you open here and you close at the low. Like what are you waiting for? Like if there's news that you're waiting for, wait for it to come and see how the stock acts. But this is broken. And you're probably going to break that dollar, and this thing's going to trade back. This just looks like it was some kind of pump. And then, here comes the dump of it. You've broken the 50, the 21. I wouldn't go near this with a 10-foot pole. So yeah, that looks awful. So that's pretty much it. She trades a lot and uses trades until I started watching. Yeah, you got to watch her. You have to understand something. Kathy Wood can say that she's buying these, and she is buying them, right? But dude, I'm calling everyone dude and dudettes for the ladies that are watching. You have to understand something. Her time horizon is 3 years out. So, it's 3 years out. I'm glad your friend says NVAX will bounce back. Maybe it will bounce back. Look, here's your daily. You didn't break the 200 day. Maybe it does bounce back. All I know is, when I thought it was going to run, it didn't run. And then we have issues. Could this bounce back? Absolutely. Look, there's a lot going on here behind the scenes with the World Trade Organization. And I don't really know why this is going to move. Like, I don't really know what their game plan is. It seemed like it was very coordinated, right? With these names, didn't it feel kind of coordinated? Biden says one thing, Merkel says another thing. It almost seems like they're trying to control the pricing of these vaccines to some extent. So yeah, I know I do too. I just have to stop it. But so you have to kind of look at these names and realize that, the way that I was looking at them and the bounce that I was looking at, and the selling down, you're going to have to watch these, and you have to realize now that these are binary events. All three of these have come out. They're all in production. They're all selling. And now you're just waiting for news to be negative on the other side more than you're waiting for it to be positive. But could NVAX bounce? Yeah. I mean, it broke look, here's your rules of thumb. Okay. Very quickly, rules of thumb. Here's your 21 day, here's your 50 day. Your 21 day determines very clearly, are bulls in charge or bears in charge? If you're below the 21 day, that's your guide. Bears are in charge of that stock right now. Okay. Just use that as a guide. Your 50 day, that's where institutions buy. Were institutions buying or selling this? They're selling this. Why am I fighting that? Go on to the next one. But if you go through them and you look at them, do you see the difference between these stocks? What stock got bought at the 21 day and the bulls are in charge of? Bntx. Okay. So when you click through them, if you're interested in playing this, MRNA, the bulls are trying to stay in charge of that one, and it held the 50 day. So what I'm getting at here is that if you're interested in playing this bounce and you think this is a bounce, why are you buying the stock that's below the 21 and the 50 day? Doesn't make any sense. You would buy the strongest one. What's the strongest one? BNTX, period. Right. And what's interesting about BNTX, and let's just walk through this. Okay. Here's that trend line that we broke, right? Which made us go parabolic. Remember how I always talk about these trend lines? When you break these trend lines, you go parabolic, right? We talk about this all the time. Hopefully somebody's listening and acting on them. But look how we broke below this, right? And then here I am cursing it because I covered my short the day before. I did well with the short, but I covered the day before. So I'm cursing it, right? And we open at the low and my mind is on other things. And then we break through that line again and then we gap up. Which one do you want to buy out of the three? If you want to play this space and you want to play this bounce, you need to be playing BNTX. Okay, that it's very clearly which one the institutions and the bulls are buying. They're buying BNTX out of the three. I don't want to get into the minutia of the drugs and Visor and all that stuff. It's very clear which one they're buying. And BNTX, very interestingly enough, is a German company. So maybe Merkel has a reason why she doesn't want these to go generic. So that's it. Swing let me before new email heading was going. I don't know. That's not about me. Kathy Wood is a Christian believer. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is a Christian. And I don't know if that affects her decision making or not. But she is a Christian. So I know somebody that actually attends her church. But I don't know if they're actually friends with her in Palm Beach. But I don't know if that affects her decision or her thought process. She strikes me as somebody that is very level-headed. Deutsche Bank, I mean, I guess they're going up because they didn't blow up with the Credit Suisses of the world. Look, it's a very thin name. You need to get through that line. See the line I just drew on your Deutsche Bank? This is DB for those that are asking about it. And go from there. And if someone can do the timestamps, I really appreciate when you guys do that. If you can go through the ones that I mentioned as top 10, so the people that really are interested in the top 10 while I do these live. So I want to go through this because this is the last of the top 10. And then I'm just going to sit here and take questions and go through everything that you guys want to go through for like the next half hour. We'll do a half hour of like Q&A. So if you guys want to, guys and girls, if you want to hang out and do it. RVLV, this is not over. Okay. This was on the top 10 last week. This move is not done. Like 400% earnings growth. I try to avoid talking about earnings and fundamentals to not cloud people's minds. You very simply watch this and pay attention to it. This is going a lot higher. Okay. I'll be buying this on dips and be looking at buying this on dips. Your stop on this, if you buy it, okay, is this 55.67, a close below that would scare me a little bit. But this breakout is enormous and this thing can really, really move. This has a tremendous amount of potential. Notice the 48.33. Notice where our low was on this 48.18. Undercut it just enough to scare you and then jammed it up. Look at these 3 weeks of consolidation and then the breakout on earnings. This is going a lot higher. I hope people are understanding how much I keep saying that over and over again. This got nothing but blue skies above it. It crushed. Look at the volume on the day that it crushed. People are going to change growth that's in different areas besides tech. Obviously, they benefit from tech, but put this on your list. That's it. That's what I got for the top 10. I'm just going to start seeing things. Yeah. BNTX is it, Indy. Like there's no question. We can chart all three next week and talk about this on Saturday and see, who's right, who's wrong. I mean, you can actually, and I don't want to get into all this, but you can actually pair trade them. You could, if you think that there's risk, you could actually, buy BNTX and short NVAX. Find the weakest one, short that, buy the longest and do same dollar amounts. And then you're hedging out the, you're hedging out the risk of, a binary event somewhat to some extent. So RVLV. So that's that. Where are we here? Bill Hwang attended her church and is well-funded. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were friends, Indy. I had no idea. Look, he just got over leveraged and he got hammered. I mean, it happens. That's exactly what happened to him. Let's go through this. Can I do DE? Yep. So that's where I'm at in the chat. So if you asked for a symbol before and I missed it, you're going to throw it back in because I missed it. So DE, I love. I just really think that this is setting up to go. And, you know, I threw it out there the other day as you need to look at this. And I believe that, and it's going to be in the newsletters. Everybody's aware. I already said it. You know, I was pretty clear, buy it here. Look at this trend line that you have here. Come on. There we go. So let me just make this a little more perfect. So you're in this trend and you're in this line and you're breaking out of this base and you're heading to this level. So this 445 level looks like where we're heading to. This is just, look, this is going to be, it should be a slow mover. I don't know that it's going to do that, but breaking out the way that it did on Friday, this is going to 425, 430 very clearly. And let's just go through this. Look where you're at on the weekly. Look at that break from the weekly, from this little pivot, right? So this is important to understand, and I'm going to link the candlestick video for like the 100th time on here. And I plan on doing an update of the candlestick video. I want to do a more advanced one, but I'm going to do an option video I've been working on first for people to understand options. 392, see how you broke that wick? So as people that understand candlesticks understand that this is price rejection the whole way. So what happened this week? That price rejection got filled. So whoever was selling in there, just think about it this way. When you think about candlesticks, whoever was selling in there, they're gone. They're out, right? We've taken them out. So just keep that in mind. So that's why all of a sudden, when you start seeing that, you want to be involved. So that's that. Beyond, please. Tesla. All right, let's just keep getting through these. So let's get through them. DPST. We've been talking about this. You're finally starting to break out here. Okay. I think that these regional banks are going to move. If you want to play it this way, play it this way. This is going to be a very slow mover. See that break right there of 263? That's all you need to see. That's really all you need. I think that this is going to be like a slow mover, but it's not a bad move, right? From 263 to 275. I mean, that's not really as slow as I think it is it? Maybe I have this maybe I need to open this up a little bit. So that's not really a bad move. The encapsulation of these other 2 days, even though they're green, is very, very bullish. The breakout is bullish. The curve of this line going up is bullish. This is DPST, and you should be able to see this symbol right here, so I don't have to drill it in. Look, if interest rates go up, which I don't think they are going, you got to be looking at this. This on the monthly would bother me. See how you stopped right there at 273 or 275.30? That would bother me a little bit. So, the home builders are going to do better than the loan market. I mean, this is like for people that love this name, this is toast. I bought a little bit after hours on that report. That report was good. And if you're going down on good numbers, let's get rid of all this stuff. We don't need this. If you're going down on good numbers, you have a real issue here. So you've undercut the all-time low, right? Right here. Now you're sitting right on that all-time low. See this low? You break $18. This thing is toast. Like this. If you can't bounce back, if you can cut 18 and bounce back, maybe we can fill the gap to 22 and a half. Maybe. If you can't do that and you break 18 and you break that and you look at this next week and you're through 18, you have a perma short, right? I mean, it's got real issues. I'm very surprised the way that it acted, and I lost money on that trade. I bought it after hours at like 20 and a half, 20 and a quarter, something like that. And I thought that I was getting it cheap. And I apparently was not getting it cheap. Yeah, RKT is toast. If you can't hold this level, like look at this line right here, right? Look, Andy, like look at this line. If you can't hold that line, you have issues, period. It's that simple. Like, don't overthink it. You can't hold your major support line, you're done. You're toast. So, Arete, I want you to check out TEX. I'd like to hear what you use to keep up with the news and market changes. Naya, I use a litany of things. I am going to try next week. I've been saying this. I'm going to start trying to do like a pre-market show starting at 8:45 next week. I don't know. I don't think it'll be Monday. I think it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday. I have some other kinks I have to work out with it, and I trade for a living. So I have to figure out how I'm going to put all this together and do it. As far as news, I use a litany of things. I have access to a lot of information, a lot of news information. You need to be careful where you're getting your news information from so that it's not delayed. If that's how you're going to try to trade, Naya, like you really got to be on your news information. I would personally tell you that if you want just news and you don't want to pay for it, you know, there's guys on Twitter that just are crushing it as far as coming out with news right away. What's that? That one guy's name is like, I think it's Walter Bloomberg. He's got like 250,000 followers. Like his news feed is just as good as like my AP news feed. You know, you can get information from them if you're looking for just news on what's going on. If you're looking for specific news, you know, I pay for feeds. I have a lot of feeds. There's really no reason for me to mention them all. Some are expensive, some are not. But I have access to a ton of information like that. And I try and throw out like little tidbits when I think it's important. But as far as news feeds, I'd look him up. It's free. It's on Twitter. So let's look at the monthly on Tex. Okay. All right, Naya, let's look at the monthly on Tex. Yeah, I like this. I see what you're looking at. Do you see the problem? Here's your issue. You stopped right here. Get rid of these indicators. So just understand, like these indicators, this is cool that this is turning up, but until we're out of this, it doesn't matter. You need to get above this 55.10, exactly where it closed. Now that very well could happen this week. If that happens, you have a base breakout here. This base, when you break out of a base like this, you're going to take out the high. What does that put you at? I don't know. Let's see. First, this would be your next sticking point, actually. 72 would be your next sticking point. This wick isn't going to matter at all. Look at the volume. Why do I say that? Look at the volume on that wick. Doesn't mean anything versus this. This is the big boy. 72. That's where you're going. If you break this, if you break out of this, you should be going to 72. And then you have to start looking at these numbers up here. You need to break that 55.25, Naya, before you even go near this. Hey, Emily. No, I didn't go through it. Yeah, Swing Monkey. I mean, look at Walter Bloomberg on like Twitter. Like it's funny. Like he just comes out with it. I don't know if he's doing it directly from like an AP feed, but it's on there. It's really crazy. Yeah, I think we should do a pre-market live stream. I think people would really dig it. I think I could add value like that. Like I love Twitter. I love the Twitter audience. Like I met some really cool people on there, but the characters and the format is limiting. So, well, you know, I think we're going to try one next week and then we'll see how it goes and how it builds. So Naya, you got to watch the 55.10. Where are we? Square. And then I think somebody asked about ROKU like 10 times. So I got to do ROKU. I was short ROKU on Friday for a simple trade, but let's get into ROKU. Let's really get into it. So here you are. Here's your monthly on Square, right? What keeps happening? Let's just look at the monthly and then I'll do the weekly and then the daily and then we'll go from there. So 243.34 seems to be an issue, right? So where would you want to buy this? A close on the monthly above 243.34. Let's look at the weekly. How does that play in? Well, we've broken it once and we weren't able to do it. See how we're looking at a time frame from a month and then we're drilling back and seeing what the data is telling us? This is the first time in months that we've closed below the 21 week. You have a little trend, downward trend that's forming here. At the same time on that, what else do we have, Emily? Got this coming in. So we're starting to get a little pinch on the weekly. We're months away from that actually developing, right? You can see that. There's your monthly again. Let's flip back to the daily. See, now I just have noise. So right now, and I stress this a lot on these stocks, and I'm going to stress this here. See when your moving averages start going straight, right? Almost like, you know, here's them going up, and then they just start going straight. It's just dead money. Now, if I was really heck bent on buying this, that's about as clean as I can get saying heck. But see that break? Okay, look at that break. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a break of that. Okay, where does that line take you? Just to put it in perspective, See how that line takes you above this, right? So they're all connected, but it just gives you a different perspective. So I would not buy this. I would not go near this. If you didn't care what I think and you want to own it anyway, you need to get above this line. You need to get above the 21-day before you even touch this, and you got to break this downward trend. What was the other one I kept getting asked about? ROKU. Let's do ROKU. So I shorted this. I did okay with the short. It was pretty crystal clear to me that you were going to gap fill, and like, let's just go through what happened in the trade. So, okay. You gap filled right to here. See how this was a gap here. So you gap filled to here, couldn't get above it. This was the open. Everybody thought it was going to run. It in fact did not run. When we got to here, it was a pretty easy trade, and then we just closed at the low. I had puts on it too. The lotto puts expired worthless. I thought it might fill the gap all the way down. It did not do that, did it? So here's your point on this. And look, this is setting up to just kind of sit around, hopefully. But I really think that there's some issues here. People took massive advantage of a very good quarter. Their earnings were stellar. And just look at this. Let me just throw this across for a minute so you can understand where I'm going with this. This is what they chose to do on the stock that day. Remember, I kept talking about delevering. ROKU is not a competitor of Vizio. It is, I mean, Vizio is trying to be ROKU. It's not even in the stratosphere. Is FSLY a good short candidate on any rally? Just short sell FSLY. It's like a money market account right now. We can go through that chart. I love ROKU. I think it's a great company. I think they are going to be a dominant force. It is very clear that whatever is going on with this deleveraging that I keep talking about, that people are getting out of tech and they're getting into the John Deeres of the world and the oils of the world, because the firms and the institutions where they trade are going to allow them to lever it. So they're going to be able to juice their returns again. They don't care. They think like I think. They don't care what the name is. They just care where they can make their money, right? But the growth of this company is staggering, and this is going to be around a long time. But right now, a lower low, if you make a lower low here, you're going to see another wave of selling. And so you have to see what Monday brings. I think Monday brings, a very interesting day. Like, look at the Qs. You're just sitting there on these levels. So you're going to have to watch. You're really going to have to watch. FSLY. I mean, it's a perma short. It really is. Hopefully it bounces back up. I shorted it the day of the earnings and I covered it. It was just a simple little trade, but cloud stocks are rolling. I mean, you do not want to be in them. Look, you're below the 21-day, you're below the 50-day, you're below the 200-day. You're taking out lows. I mean, where are you going to go? Hopefully you can stop here. If you don't stop here, you're going to this level, 26. And I just want to say something. Like, people don't think, can I look at CMBM? Yeah, sure I can. Here's what you're going to have to understand. These stocks can always go lower than you think they can. So like when I was trading this out, skills, and we did okay with this, right? This is where we trimmed at. I said trim, and then we came back down here. People don't understand that these stocks can go even lower than they think they can. Okay. And you really need to understand that things can always get worse than what you think. So let me just point this out so you can get this. Okay. And I'm not saying that we're in this environment, but this was Cisco in the 90s and also 2000. And we traded this. I was trading back then. And this thing was earning $14 billion when it was at this high. Now it's earning $50 billion. Okay. You're still down 35% in 21 years. So if you were holding this and saying, I'm going to hold it till I come back. Okay. This is why I get so infuriated with people when they say, oh, I'm just going to hold on to it till it comes back. Really? That's your game plan? You're going to hold it till it comes back? Okay. Well, if I did this, and I mean, just to put it in perspective, you're waiting 20 years. The company's 4 times its revenues and it still hasn't come back. That is not a strategy. You need a strategy. Okay. So just keep that in mind with if I only held this till it came back, I'd be worth millions. Okay. If you did the right one, sure. If you did the wrong one, you know, you're down even more money because what's the dollar worth 20 years later? So that's my little rant. Let's do Beyond, and then we're going to do Tesla because I do like Tesla. Beyond's toast. I mean, it's pretty clear what's going on here, right? This is going to roll. There's really no support to it. I have like 400 lines on here, so that's not really going to help anybody. So let's get rid of all of them. And let's blow this back a little bit. So look, you see how your 250 cross here and your 21 and how these are starting to point down? I would be shorting this when we get to the 125 level again. I would not chase the short down. The fact that you're seeing massive short covering here, see how you're seeing this green bar, leads me to believe that we're due for a bounce. So I would not short this here. I would short it near the 125 level. NIO and Tesla. Yeah, let's do those. Yeah, fake meat's dead, dude. It's dead. And dudettes. Going here. So let's do Tesla because I keep talking about it. Look, I have this out there and it's a 675 buy. And a lot of people are disagreeing with me because they're like, if the NASDAQ goes down, this has to go down. Maybe not, right? So let's just trade price. Here's this trend line. Look how we keep respecting this trend line. Okay. Now, did it go up Friday because he's going to be on Saturday Night Live? I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know the answer. All I can do is talk about price. We ran right to the 50-day and it rejected. What does that mean? It means institutions are selling the stock. It doesn't mean anything more than that. It just means institutions are selling the stock. So based upon that, you know, we have to figure out what we're going to do about that. And to me, I think that you just have to figure that out and say, okay, I needed to get through this level. Well, that's not the 75 that I want, but that still gets me the highest close of 75. So if I can get over that 75, I think I can run to the 707 level. If I can get through that, I can get to the top of this channel. So that's my play on this. You know, Monday is going to be very interesting with the stock to see who played with it and, you know, based upon that. But I don't think this is dead until this breaks. You know, and this needs to break for it to be dead. Right now, I'm just riding the 50-day and they're selling it. So we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, that trend line goes all the way back. It goes, this trend goes all the way back. Like if you open this up, I'm just showing it from here, but this trend line goes all the way back. So it does. Yep. So final important question, TSM, what is the deal? Look, these foundry stocks should be absolutely rocking with the shortage, and they're not. Right now, you're just basing on this. Now, there is a really cool pattern going on with this one. It is on my list. And, you know, AMAT's actually bouncing too. So look what's going on here. If we can get above that trend line and get above 121, we're in great shape. And, I really like that. I would really like to see that happen. I like TSM. I think it's a great idea. And I think it'll continue to, go higher, but right now look at the base. You're just basing. What else we got? IBM, repost FDX, Arete. Have you noticed Tesla's trend? Blah, blah, blah. Let me see this. I can do IBM. So, I mean, I actually just, you know, I actually put a short on CCIV on Friday at the close because of that commercial. I think people are expecting some kind of pop on it. And I just took the other side of it based upon the technical pattern. Look, there's IBM. I mean, this is pretty technical stuff. You're breaking out, you're going higher. This trade's like an industrial essentially. And you're seeing this weekly and you're seeing it break out. But look at this. This is the weekly on IBM. Look where you're at. Right? So if I can clear this multi-year, 4-year break, does it go back any further? Not really. Let's see. Well, you could argue that it does. Let's see how far back this goes. Okay. So you could actually argue that this goes back to 2013. So if by breaking and getting above this line, that would be substantial. So far, it hasn't done that. So you need to see it do that before you'd buy it at this point. right? Because right now we have a rejection. So on the weekly, you want to see a close above this wick. What would that close be? 148. So you'd be looking at like, let's say 140, 148.50. So 149. So TSM could have a $200 target price. Like you have to understand something. There is no, I mean, there's only so many foundries, right? And you need to understand that. So yeah, absolutely. I would not be buying Planter here. I like the semis too. I mean, like I do. And when tech comes back, and I think tech comes back end of June, July, I think the semis, like look at AMAT. Like AMAT's setting up, right? I mean, this is setting up. We're in a bull flag. We're setting up. It just could be weeks before it happens. I agree. You know, FUTU is a good short here, Willa, and you know, I'm trying to I'm trying not to throw out too many short ideas, but yeah, FUTU is a good short idea. You know what else is a good short idea that I really didn't want to get into is TIGR, TIGR. I mean, this broke. You know, this has broken. There's really no other way to say it. So there's your trend line, and you've broken. Oops, hold on. Let me draw that better. So there's your trend line, and we've broken it. Like that's it. Game over. 130. This is where we did the secondary, correct? Wasn't it 130? So, I mean, look at this chart. And, you know, I don't really need, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of all these horizontal lines. Let's get rid of all these indices. Like, that's all you need to know. Okay. Here's your H. See how these patterns replicate over and over and over again, right? So that's once you start understanding these patterns and pattern recognition, you can just start recognizing them and do this yourself. But look at this. I mean, this is pretty clear what's going on, right? I mean, why would you want to be in this? Break that 130 level. I have to look at where they did the secondary. I want to say they did the secondary at 130. If you break that level, wherever they did the secondary, it's just an outright short. I mean, and you know, sadly, and I love this company. Like I just think their growth is just staggering. But I was looking at this chart this week and going, wow, like here's that upper right. I always say this: rising channels are bearish. People always ask why, because this is how they end. Doesn't mean you can't make money with it, but we rejected 24 very, very clearly. Remember this level I kept talking about when we were long this, we have to get through 24. We got there last week, rejected, boom. And if you look at this pattern, you'll recognize this from the candlesticks patterns. There's your evening star, right, on the week. Now we're closing at the low of the day or the low of the week. Like this is setting up to test these levels. You're going to $12, $13 on this. So I think that's a short candidate as well. FUBU, I keep getting asked about. FUBU, okay, needs to hold support. And let's go through the daily on this one. So there's your support level. You need to hold $14. If you don't hold 14, you're done. And right here, you're having trouble. So, and all I keep doing is making lower low and lower low. And so this is not something I'd run into. At this point, I wouldn't short it either. I think there's too much risk of it bouncing. And I want to point this one out, but it didn't make the list. But just watch this level. We're finally starting to see something. I have an alert set on this. But watch this level, this 37.83 level. I'm going to just show you something on this one. This is DISCA. And we're just, you know, just talking, but it's not really ready for prime time. But just look at this. So this is VWAP. And we're going to get rid of all this other stuff for a minute. I just remembered this is something that you guys should learn. And let's get rid of this for a minute. We get rid of, let's get rid of all the rays. Yeah. Yes. Just get rid of it all. Okay. Remove all horizontal lines. Remove all segment lines. Okay. So what I want to get at here with this is the volume weighted average of where people are in. And it's finally starting to curl up, right? It's finally starting to curl up. Okay. I'd like to see a break of this level before it does this, like one more sell down and then rip. But you need to watch this and put it on your list, because if this starts closing above VWAP and that little break there, right? So if you get to like $38 and get a close above $38, you could see real buying come into this. And people start saying, oh, I need to get back into this. Just put it on your radar. It's one to watch. Could you look at golf, please? Yeah, they are. Viacom's the same way. This just looks better than Viacom. Golf. Yeah, I can look at golf. So, you had this huge breakout from this level. I mean, this is like, I can't stress how important enough it is, DH, to put these levels in and to look at these levels, right? So like when you look at these levels, really what you're trying to do is you just set alerts to them sometimes. Like even during the day, you go, oh, I'm not going to buy this. It's all, look at this overgap. And let me get rid of this because we don't really need this right now. So just to give you an understanding of how to trade this. So you look at this and go, oh man, look at this overgap. What's an overgap? When I'm here and I'm opening here, the gap's too great. You just can't run into a burning building and buy it because it's running up, right? Like I shouldn't call them burning buildings, but you know where I'm going with it. Like you can't run to the gate and go bet on the horse after it's out. So the move's over. Now you weren't aware that this was going to happen, but this is what happened. If this is your open and this is your support level, you can make an assumption that it may test that support level. This tested that support level, went above the open, and that was your buy. Okay. And so like, if we look into this one, and I'm just giving you guys, I'm trying to give you guys and girls an understanding of how this works. So you see why that level was important, right? And that's just sitting there forever, that level. We never closed below that level. Then we reversed. Here's your reversal. Boom, boom, right? So even if you don't buy this reversal and you say, I'm going to buy it when it gets above the open, notice on this pattern on golf, and yeah, I'm getting into a lot of detail, but this is important for you guys to learn. So, and girls, so 47.80, that was your open. See how that opening price, it stops there. Then the next bar, boom, gaps over. That's it. There's your trigger. Okay. Now you can stay in, now you're in the stock. See how it hits that in support if you missed it, and then curls again. And this level, now this is your stop. And it's gone. It's gone now. So that's one way to enter those stocks when they trade and they gap up. And you're trying to figure out how to get in it, because you can quantify your risk. If you can't quantify your risk, you can't get in anything because you can get hammered. What do you do now? Look, if you're trying to trade this, you have to do it on small time frames, like 5-minute, 15-minute bars to get into the trade. And you can't really buy it until it takes out the higher high. So at this point, you're looking for $52 before you can get into it. So did you already chart DKN? No, I posted it last night, I think. I mean, it's a short. It's just an outright short. Like here, this is, you don't even need moving averages. You don't need anything. I mean, it's toast. This is its complete down or upper trend line since its existence, and it shattered it. This is your falling wedge where you're looking for the breakout to the upside, and it broke to the downside. It's just not good. I don't know if it was the earnings that triggered it or what triggered it, but that is a massive, massive break. And you're probably going to in the mid 40s, and hopefully you stop there, because if you don't stop there, it gets a lot worse. And if you throw in the indicators and you just look at this, that break of the 200-day, the bulls just threw in the towel. I mean, that's really what happened. And look at this volume spike on volume, right? On average volume, you're like 3 times above average volume. And what's happening? You're still at the low of the day. So that tells you there's way more stock that's got to be puked out here. And you're sitting right on this 50-week, but nonetheless, I think it's toast. So I mean, on any rally, I would short that. CVNA is just one of those stocks that, look, CVNA has a huge short interest. Okay. Huge short interest, and they had great earnings. But when we're talking about stocks and the reasons for moving, some of the things that you guys are saying and girls are saying is that they had great earnings and they went down. If you're in a stock and you have great earnings and it went down, you need to get out of it. Okay. It's very simple. If you are delevering across the board, as I keep stressing, and you come out with earnings and it doesn't go up, the very first thing that those institutions are going to do is sell those stocks. They're just going to get out. So, they're just going to get the heck out. Give me another one. What else we got? Real. Let's take a look at Real. I looked at this one. The Real. Yeah, I know what they do, and it just doesn't seem to be working. You're just kind of in that base. You see this upper channel that you kind of broke? Just be careful with this. You're sitting right on that channel line. See it? Just watching that. So I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I've been going at it now, I think, for about an hour and a half. Anything else you guys really wanted me to cover? Throw it out there real quick before we wrap this up. So HYRE, I think will go up. Let's take a look. HYRA. And you can put in the comments if I don't get to it. And hey, Adventure Dudes. And I'll go from there and take a look. So thank you, Luke. I like doing this. I think it's fun. Maybe that makes me a geek, but I think it's fun. HYRE. You see how you're just like chilling here and you're not really going anywhere? This needs to break out. And until it breaks out, I wouldn't go near this. Thanks, Ian. So GM will do CVS, right? What's going on there? I mean, I saw this and it's just fascinating, but you're breaking out. Like, this is a serious move for CVS. I mean, like, that is serious. And this is what I'm talking about with these lower beta names. Like, they're going to get squeezed if they have good earnings. It's too far ahead for me to buy it because I have to use this as the stop. So I can't really buy this because I can't quantify the risk in such a level, right? But you see all this volume that's coming in, man, give me a couple down days and a retest of this line. And let me just stress this because this is important. Lower beta names respect these levels a little bit more than the higher beta names. So the chance of them pulling back and then you're buying there is good. You're better off. Is there another way to message you other than Twitter right now? My account was suspended for non-use. I'm working on it this weekend. Yeah, I'm going to set something up so that people can. You can reach me through, I guess, the comments on YouTube, and we'll go from there. Reach me on that. I'm going to set up a separate email too, so people can just email me. I've been working on it. It's like one of the things I'm working on. It's just, Fdx is still a good buy. Let's just look at this real quick, Brian. I like this trade. It's a slow grind up, but I like Visor. I think Visor is going to be I think Visor and Bntx are going to be the winner of this whole thing, but I'm keeping that to myself. This isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to be a slow grind up, but it's going to go up. I mean, you can see how it does. It just keeps going higher. It just takes time. Visor. So, I've never did NIO. You're right. All right, I'm going to do FDX, and then let's just keep going. NIO, let's do the NIO. And then, look, this has a lot of issues. See this H? So, no, it's got to hold here. If it breaks $34, it's toast. If you break $34 on this, you have issues. I'll go to the daily on it too. Yeah, I mean, you're sitting right on the 200-day. And if you break this downward trend line in the 200-day, this is going to be a perma short. This is really nasty stuff. So you also have an upper trend line here that you're breaking. So avoid. If you're in this, you want to be out of it. You do not want to be in this. So yeah, Brian, I think it is. I mean, I think it's a perma long. Just buy it, hold it. I mean, I think they're going to be the winners. I think it's pretty clear at this point who the winner is going to be. It's fascinating when you really go and read the research, and I do read the research. ASO rejected this level, and you should have taken your trade and been out of it. And you're opening and closing at lows, which is not what you want to say. It's like they've moved on to BGFV, and you have people that are shorting this, so you're gonna have short pressure. 33.71 is your last stand. If it breaks that, you got to go. You got to get out of it. Yeah, I agree, Brian. I think they're going to be the winner. I really do. I think they're going to be the winner. I said FDX, and there's this FCFS. I'm going to do that one because I'm going to forget that one. This was on my list. This almost made the top 10, and I tried to keep it within 10. I really like this trade. I like the deep base. I like how the breakout's happening. I like how we broke both levels on one day. What I didn't like was I didn't like the volume. So that's why I avoided it. I really didn't like the volume, and your placement here is not great, but I do like it. It's just not the best, but it's definitely a trade. There's no question about it. You could definitely look at trading that. XPEV, there's no need for me to even look at. Looks just the same. So URA, let's rock and roll. Yeah, I mean, this thing's like global uranium is just, I guess global uranium's all the rage. Who knew? This thing's just, this is off to the races. Look at the volume coming in. I guess people are looking at these nuclear power plants and how this turns around, and that's what they're looking at. The CCJ, the people will keep asking me about. I'm concerned about this level and getting through $21 on CCJ. We'll go from there. So what else? I don't feel the need to sugarcoat anything, Indy. I mean, it's kind of pointless. Can you talk about good chart setups, time frame studies? Yes, I can do that, Emily. So that's it. All right, that's it. That's all I got. All right, as always, we'll go from there. Yeah, I'm looking at CCJ. That was just the one I just did, but $21. You got to get through $21. So that's it, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'm going to leave this up for replay. Reach out to me, and I'll keep you all informed on when we're going to start doing these pre-markets. I'm going to try and do one this week, and we'll go from there. So that's it. Everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Saturday.